Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Welcome to Paranormal Karen. We are still in September, I believe. You can come see me in Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, October 17th, 18th and 20th, I believe. 17th, right around there. Go to Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. You can get tickets there. Where else am I? I know next year I'm headlining at Brad Garrett's Plan Your Vacation to Vegas. All kinds of things going on. Today's guests, was single. I was talking to April. You all know April from Conversations with April. And we were talking about alchemy. And I thought, I know just who to talk to. I met today's guest, Garz, when she came to a psychic stand-up show, and I friended her on Facebook, and she has the most fascinating posts. She is a healer. She is an alchemist. I don't even know where to start. Garz, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
And I wanted to start because you have a bunch of healing, you have classes, you have everything going on. I wanted to start with alchemy. Let everybody know, what is that? What is alchemy?
Well, traditionally, alchemy is the transformation of base metals like lead into gold. But it can be the transformation of anything. For example, transforming scrap metal into beautiful art, or hate into love, or illness into wellness, disease into ease. It's really just the transformation of anything, right? So that's an alchemy. It's like when you fall in love with someone, there's a form of alchemy happening there. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And so when you say, is that kind of like your healing, is you're transforming illness into healing?
Right. Yeah, I see healing, any type of healing, as a form of transformation. And so I teach, I give one-on-one sessions, but I also teach people how to transform energy.
Oh, fascinating. Okay. And you do, like I said, when I look on your page, there are so many different types of healing that you do. But before, I wanted to ask you, you do past life clearing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I read tarot, but I don't do that much past life stuff unless it's something that like knocks me over the head. Like someone called me and told me about their child having a reoccurring dream that was very specific, and the child was so young, and it was almost kind of an adult dream that I was just like, okay, that's past life stuff. Can you tell me, is there any way that people, my listeners, know what's the difference between like past life stuff and perhaps a current hang up or something like that? Is that question somewhat worded correctly?
Yeah. So, for example, a reoccurring dream can be a past life issue. And some people have fears, irrational fears or phobias, and they don't know where it comes from. So most likely it's a past life issue. For example, if you're afraid of drowning and you've never drowned, then obviously you've experienced that in another lifetime. Some people don't like wearing anything around their neck, and they've never been strangled, or they've never choked. So that's an indication to a past life issue. If you're really drawn to a certain race, like some people love to date, I don't know, Latin people or Asian people or Black people, there's probably a past life connection there. Some people, even if you watch movies and you may see a scene that triggers you so much that you just get upset, or you just get really turned around by it. There's probably a past life experience that you've had that the film, the scene is triggering. Sometimes you meet someone and you just feel, I've met you before, or you seem really familiar to me. There's probably a past life connection there. And then other times, especially with people who've experienced a lot of trauma at a young age, at some point you do ask yourself, why am I experiencing this? Like, was I a bad person in other lifetimes? And then you look into it and you realize, oh, there is a lot of past life karma involved, and that's why I'm experiencing this trauma. There's lots of ways to, and some people just know. Some people are so in tune and so sensitive that they just go, okay, yeah, I've experienced this before. I can feel it in my blood. I can feel it in my bones. Does that make sense?
It does. And you know what's interesting? The example that you used about like someone experiencing so much trauma, and it's a fine line that people can kind of go, well, this is not my fault. I didn't ask for this. And I always kind of think, well, that's kind of the bigger picture that we don't know. I don't know why people know we understand it all, but I do think it's, maybe it is a past life. Maybe how do you say that gently to somebody without going, hey, maybe you were a real jerk last time? You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't say that to someone. I wouldn't say, to someone, oh, yeah, this person robbed you because you robbed them in another lifetime. And so this is payback. Although I've had clients who come to me who are emotionally, mentally scarred because they've gone to psychics who told them, you killed someone in another lifetime, and so this is your punishment, and they feel like they have to suffer in this lifetime. I wouldn't personally say something like that to them.
I wouldn't say it to someone personally, but I always say maybe someone came into this life and they wanted to learn about forgiveness. So they've been giving the worst, but I always think, it's very interesting because I kind of stay away from past lives because I really don't know that much about it. But I know it's almost like people always like Hitler. Like Hitler seems to be the go-to for all of this. Like maybe who is Hitler back in this life? And I kind of think that's the bigger picture we may not ever know or our little brains couldn't contain. Isn't he the go-to on that? Or do I just have the darkest friends ever?
Maybe you have some dark friends. Yeah, Hitler doesn't ever come up in my conversations.
You know what I think? Here's how I think I want to say it as I stumble through my words. Karma is a bigger thing. We seem to think it's almost a barter system, and isn't it kind of bigger than that?
Well, karma is just the results of your actions, right? So there are positive results and there are negative results. So the ego loves to say this is good, this is bad, but on a soul level, nothing is good and nothing is bad. The soul doesn't get offended. It is what it is. The ego will say, I don't like the way this looks. This is really painful. This is really hurting. Why is it happening to me? But on a soul level, we just accept everything because we've already signed up for the contract. We've already signed up for it before we even incarnated,
Okay, that's what I was looking for. The ego, and that we separate it as good and bad when really it just is.
Right.
Okay, that's our little brains coming up with punishment and reward.
Right.
Oh, okay, great. So when someone comes to you, and do we sort of draw that stuff to us? Like if I had a particular, it might not just be people from my past life. If I had a particular issue, do I draw people to me like that anyways, trying to figure it out?
Yeah. So, for example, our family members, we have a lot of karma with our family members, and that's why most people have had pretty abusive childhoods. And it's very rare that I meet someone who was raised in a very enlightened household, or were raised by parents who were present and loving unconditionally. So our core group, one of our core groups is the family, right? And then another how karma plays out also is with our family, friends, partners, husbands, wives, children, and friends, bosses, landlords, landladies. Pretty much anyone you come into contact with, there is some kind of like karmic lesson involved. It doesn't always have to be bad.
Got it. And there's bigger karma, right? World karma, country karma, that kind of thing.
Yeah, every country has its karma as well. Yes, and there's every country has a collective consciousness and a collective unconsciousness that we are, I guess, plugged into unconsciously.
And we're definitely going through that right now.
Yes.
As a country. Okay. So people can come to you. Do they have to be in person? Or if somebody's like, listen, I have just had this irrational fear since I was little, you help them with that?
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be in person. I actually do remote sessions for people in the US. I work over the phone, and for people who are international, my international clients see me over Skype or FaceTime. It makes no difference whether it's in person or remote.
Do you ever find people use it as an excuse? Or that doesn't, you're going to fix it if it's a problem, it should be fixed? I said that very matter of fact, like it was your car. Like if your car's broken, fix it. But you know how sometimes people kind of use things as excuses. Do you ever kind of feel like that? And like maybe they're not in for the right reasons?
I think people have a tendency to use all kinds of things as an excuse. For example, I remember one person said, I'm just a really bossy bitch because I'm an Aries, and that's how Aries are. And it's like, oh, okay. People use all kinds of excuses, don't they?
Mm-hmm. And the way they say things, you're exactly right. It's kind of like, I know a lot of people who are in relationships, and someone will say, I'm just all fucked up. And I always think, no, that means you're not fixing.
Right.
That means you've decided that, and you're not fixing it.
Yeah, people don't want to really look at themselves. Oh, people are really attached to their issues, and it becomes like some kind of addiction.
That's a wonderful phrase. People become attached to their issues. And do you feel like I love that phrase? And so you're there when they've decided to unattach and they're done with it.
Yeah. Most people don't come to see me because, I have a past life issue. I want you to, heal. Most people come to see me because there's a blockage in their life. For example, I'm not meeting the guy or the girl of my dreams. What's wrong with me? Or I've gone through so much trauma and abuse that it's very difficult for me to get out of bed. Depression, anxiety, or I'm not getting where I want to get to in my career. I'm not moving on, or I feel stuck, or all kinds of health issues. And some people even ask me to clear things so that they can sell their house. I mean, it really varies.
I just had a friend that had a womb cleansing or something like that. Or I guess there really is anything for that. You can just, you should work on it. And that sounds exactly right. I guess you just work on wherever their energy block is.
Yeah.
Now you have something called aroma touch therapy. And I thought it said aroma tooth therapy. I stopped for a second and I was like, what is that? But you have all these different types of healing. What would be it says Chinese energy healing. What would that be? As opposed to Reiki?
Chinese energy healing is what I mainly use. And it's basically I just drop into the person's energy field, and that's where I see the past lives. And I also energy test or muscle test to clear blockages. They could be mental or emotional or physical or psychic or spiritual blockages. And they are stored, they could be stored in your lymphatic system. They could be stored in your lungs. They could be stored in your meridians or subtle bodies. The Chinese energy healing is basically the past life clearing that I do.
Okay. And that's working with the qi energy?
It is working with energy because you're removing an accumulation of either traumas or negative beliefs or limiting beliefs or trapped emotions or past life issues.
Okay. I'm sure depending on the person, it's how many times they have to clear out. I mean, how many times they have to come for an appointment or get cleared out?
Most people need more than one session because, if someone comes to see me and they're in their 30s and 40s, they've had the issue for a long time. We think that the issue is new. Oh, I just went through a breakup. And so, but then when I tap into the subconscious, I realize, okay, this is not just about this new breakup. It's actually about, when they were heartbroken at 3 years old because the dad walked out of the mom. And it's actually because of another lifetime where they broke their heart and, other lifetimes of breaking up and divorce and da-da-da. I mean, it just goes on. So there's a lot to clear out.
Wow.
Because you've had these issues, these core issues your whole life, and also other lifetimes.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. Are people, after when you sort of give them the overall of what you see or what's going on there, are they often stunned?
Say that again?
When, say I went to you for a clearing and you had all that for me. This is because blah, blah, blah. This is when this and past life. People must be very shocked by all the information.
Well, I don't always tell people the information because it slows down the session. And sometimes I find that people will obsess over information that I have shared with them. And when we obsess about the information, it can re-trigger the issues. So I tend to not, I've kind of like moved into a place where I don't really tell people what's coming up unless they are really adamant that they want to know.
I would be so curious, but I do think that's probably a great policy, because it could be like, you tell me something, so then I have a story. Now I have a story to tell my friends, and then this happened and I was told this, and it could go on and on. So that probably is, they just feel better and go. And you even have a few tapes on your Facebook page of how you're doing this too. So it's very, very interesting, especially the muscle testing.
Yeah.
And the muscle testing is interesting. Can people do that on their own, or can you give us a short description? Because I know some people have tried it on me, but I can't remember if it worked or didn't work. But you hold your arm out, and how does it work?
Well, muscle testing, you're tuning into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is 90% of the mind, or it just controls 90% of our actions. And then you have the conscious, which is just the 10% of the mind. So even though you may say that you want something, you're only speaking from the conscious mind. Whereas if you don't work on the subconscious to align the subconscious, the conscious, you're not going to be able to manifest what it is that you want. So when you muscle test, you're actually tuning into the subconscious to see where are the weaknesses, what are the blockages. And the subconscious doesn't lie, but the conscious mind lies all the time. The conscious mind may not remember all the details and memories, but the subconscious mind stores everything we've ever done. So it's better to work with the subconscious.
Wow. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's it. So when you muscle test, you're really working with the subconscious mind.
Now, and this is a weird thing, but in tarot, the Lover's card is literally the male is the conscious. He looks to the woman who is the subconscious mind, and she looks to the up at the angel, which is the superconscious. And it's always that sort of perfect love is when all three of those are working in unison. I know everybody thinks, oh, that's my husband or that's my wife, but it's actually more about how the body systems work together. Is that really what everybody is shooting for health, to just have all, or, mental health, or get rid of the blockages, having all those kind of work in unison? Or do you think as humans, we can't really get there?
I think we can get there, but it takes a lot of practice. we do so many things unconsciously. You know, we eat unconsciously. We drive unconsciously. We put our clothes on unconsciously. We speak unconsciously. If we were to be really conscious of everything we did, then every single thing that we did would be some kind of ritual.
Huh.
Right?
Yeah. You think, and it would take a long time to get out of the house. It would take forever, my God. But that is, I'm fascinated with this idea that, like, okay, so, and this is very funny. My astrology this year, my friend does astrology, and she was like, you could meet the man you're supposed to marry this year if you want to bring it in. And I thought about it, and she goes, do you want to bring it in? And I said, well, I think so, because I have a good support system and I have friends that can help. And then I realized I was talking about this as though it was cancer, not a soulmate. I was so like in this weird space that already was setting up the defenses. So if I came to you then, and I was saying to you, oh, I really want to meet someone, you might be like, well, wait a minute, let's do the muscle test on that. And it might be different, correct?
Yeah, most people who say that they want to meet their soulmate or life partner, when you muscle test them, they're not actually strong for meeting them. And they're not even strong, energetically strong, when they even think about it. So, which tells me, again, we speak from the conscious mind of what we want, but the subconscious is where all the answers are.
And would that answer be maybe they were too afraid, like me, or maybe I'm just really happier alone, or what? Is it always varies, right?
There's like hundreds of reasons why that is the case. So some people, and it's often a combination, because everything affects everything. So usually when someone comes to see me and they say, I want to meet my life partner, I want to get married, I want to have children, I test, number one, are they strong when they think about meeting a life partner? Usually they're not. And then they're in disbelief, they're in shock. They're like, that's all I want. That's what I really want. And so, yeah, but subconsciously you're not strong for it. And then I go in even deeper and see, okay, what are the blockages? Usually, there's an accumulation of relationships that were toxic or abusive or very negative that's trapped in the body. They also have a lot of negative beliefs and trapped emotions and traumas around their parents' relationships. They also have negative experiences from other lifetimes around relationships, and also through the ancestry. It's like if the ancestry on the mother's side and the father's side have an accumulation of negative relationships, then that's going to be trapped in their body too.
Wow. That must just be fascinating. Fascinating how far back it goes. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you what people feel like, or what is kind of the results of the healing. So we'll be right back. Who do tarot readers go for tarot readings? They go to Melissa Sonova at melissasonova.com. She gave me the best reading a couple of months ago that is still resonating and helping me out now. She is authentic and to the point. You loved her on the podcast. She is the no BS tarot reader. She also has a tarot class online right now. Check it out. Just watching the promo, you will see how much fun you are going to have while you learn. Also, check out her book, which is always right beside me when I'm doing my readings or my tarot card for me in the morning. It is called Kitchen Table Tarot, and you will love it. Melissa Sonova, that's MELISSACYNOVA. Check her out. Okay, so basically, when people have this, do they feel better, or they find they're thinking differently, or when they're really ready to let go and you do a clearing, do they just, what does it feel like? Because now I'm fascinated. Now I know I need to be cleared.
It's different for different people. I've had one situation where a client came in and she said she wanted to meet the love of her life. I did one session on her, and then 2 weeks later, she did meet the love of their life, and now they're engaged to get married.
Oh, see, everyone's signing up now. That's that's only ever happened once, and then I have everything in between, and then another situation where I had a woman come in. She wanted to get married, and it took 6 months of working on her because there was so much trauma in her that even thinking about dating weakened her energetically, and she wasn't aware of this consciously. And so there was a lot of stuff I had to clear from her for 6 months, and now she's married. But it's different for different people. It really depends on how much trauma you're carrying, and how attached you are to it.
How attached to the issues, how addicted we are to the issues, how attached we are to the identity, the identity of nothing ever goes right for me, I'm unlucky, I don't deserve a happy life, no one loves me, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough. There's all these attachments to these negative limiting beliefs that need to be cleared. Now, some people who are in pretty good shape mentally, emotionally, physically, psychically, they're not going to take a lot of sessions, but other people who are extremely traumatized, they're going to take a lot more sessions. And some people feel much lighter after sessions. Some people feel dizzy, like they want to faint after session. Some people feel exhausted after sessions. So it just really depends on the person and how they process. Some people process stuff very quickly, and some people process stuff very slowly.
I'm reading a new book called Atomic Habits, which is fantastic. And one of the things he talks about in there is to form a habit. He says if you are quitting smoking and someone says, do you want a cigarette? That there's the big difference is between the person that says, I'm trying to quit, and the person that says, I quit. Because the person that says, I quit is literally changing their identity. And I thought that's such a minute, wonderful thing to change.
Well, your thoughts, your words, there's a reason why it's called spelling, because you're literally casting a spell on yourselves.
I'm writing that down. That's
right?
Great.
So the people who are focusing on, I'm really sick, I'm unwell, I have all these illnesses, I'm unhealthy, you're casting that spell on yourselves. And there's a difference between that and someone who says, I'm getting better and better each day. I'm healing.
Right.
And I'm getting well. You can literally feel your cells either contract or expand.
What a great way to say that. I always think that there's a lot of people that believe they are cursed. And I have a lot of, I think actual curses. I always say, curses take a lot of time and energy, and no one in Los Angeles has the follow through for that. But I kind of have the paranormal part of me believes in them, but then some of it is kind of, you have to buy into the curse to have it work.
Yes, but I think traditionally people think that curses are done by witches and, voodoo and, but actually it's very easy to curse someone. If someone cuts you off in traffic and you say something out of anger, you're cursing them. Every time you speak about someone, you're cursing them.
Wow.
You don't need to, have candles and crystals and potions and do a ceremony to curse someone. It's very easy to curse someone.
And that makes it back to your own karma, sort of.
Yeah.
Choosing our words carefully. Okay. And just a little bit off topic. People want to meet the one, or they become very convinced about the one. I believe we have several options. What is your thoughts on that?
I think there are several the ones.
Right.
a soulmate is not actually for a lifetime. A soulmate can come in for 1 week. They can come in for 1 month. They can come in for 10 years. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're for life. And, the one, you can have several people that come into your life and you can feel like, okay, this is the one. It can happen several times, not just the once.
I love that. I always say I'm looking for the 10. That suits me. And back to your list. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to go to her Facebook page, and it's called Chinese Energy Healing. And I just love the list of things that you do. Here's a couple that I've never heard of that fascinate me. Fifth dimensional quantum healing. What is that?
Well, fifth dimensional quantum healing is basically sweeping and extracting energy from someone's body, physical body and subtle bodies. That's basically what it is.
So so these are all a little bit of the same, but a little more deeper or a little change to them. Different studies.
Yeah, fifth dimensional quantum healing is more, it's not really hands-on, but you're standing very close to the client and you're sweeping and extracting energetic blockages from the body. So it's more of a just feeling where the energy blockages are. Does that make sense?
Great. And now I have a huge, I'm going to get to the first question. I have a question that just recently popped up, and then I'd love to talk to you about Akashic Records because I know very little about that, or Akashic Records. I must probably saying it wrong. In Kundalini Yoga, I don't know if this is Kundalini Yoga, but for all the people that might want to do ayahuasca or mushrooms or something, there is, what is it called? Holotropic breathing, where they can kind of get the same effect. Have you heard of this? It seems to have popped up new.
Well, I've done Kundalini Yoga and I've also done ayahuasca. And I wouldn't say the two experiences are the same.
No, it's a breathing. It's all over YouTube right now, and it's a breathing that puts you in the same place. I just talked to someone that did it, and she said after she did it a while after she had done mushrooms, and she said she did actually have the same effect.
Right. Yeah, there are different breathing techniques that can activate the Kundalini. There's also a modality called CAP, which is Kundalini Activation Process. And you're not required to do a breathing technique, but you have certain practitioners who are obviously certified to come, and they do certain switches, energetic switches to activate your Kundalini energy. But there's lots of different ways to activate your Kundalini energy. And I don't personally believe that it's completely dormant.
Right.
Interesting.
And that I would find that interesting to try that with other people, trying to tune it on for you. I know I had my first Kundalini experience when I was when I became Reiki 2.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know what it was, but I clearly saw what people describe up the spine. And what do they call attunement? When I had my attunement, and it really, since then, I think you can visualize it and start it yourself, can't you? Mm-hmm. That's what I try to do to get, but that would be very interesting to see what that feels like with other people do it. That's called KAP.
Yeah, CAP, for Kundalini Activation Process.
Interesting.
There's actually a class in Los Angeles at the Yoga Nest Yoga Studio on Sundays.
Oh, all right. Yoga Nest. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So now, what are, if you say Akashic records or Akashic?
I say Akashic.
Akashic, okay. And this is where we hold everything?
Yeah, the Akashic field, or the Akasha, is Sanskrit. It means ether, sky, space, heaven, atmosphere. And the Akashic records are basically energetic records, or a library that contains all of your soul's past, present, and future lives. It contains everything you've ever experienced or will experience. And the Akashic records really offers guidance for the soul, or you can find out your soul lessons in the Akashic records. It's where you can find out, your life purpose or soul purpose, which is very different from a psychic reading. So, for example, a psychic reading, someone might say, hey, will my boyfriend come back to me? We're on a break and I'm really worried about him going off with someone else, for example. So people ask in psychic readings, will he come back? Will I get him back? Which feeds the ego, whereas the Akashic records, you don't ask yes or no answers because it doesn't feed the ego. So you would ask, what is my lesson in this relationship? What is my lesson with this person?
Oh, I like that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, people very because that's tarot is my day thing, and it's very interesting. Sometimes you get people that are they're so attached to that answer. They're so it's all a guidance. It's all and I do my best to do that answer. But sometimes when people get obsessive with it, it gets very. You almost kind of have to say you got to let this go, which I do. Sometimes,
right.
Like just let it go and let it come back.
Yeah, good.
And all right, well, so in fact, we're going to take a break right now. I put my breaks are totally screwed up. The first one was too late. This one is too early, but we're going to do it right here, and we'll be right back, folks. Psychic medium and buddy of mine, Terry Huberman, is with me today. Terry, you've given me so many great readings and healings, and now you've got everything together in one package. Tell me about that.
I sure do. So this package has energy healings, readings, and coaching.
Coaching, that's the best. And people, they buy the package. You give them coaching once a week?
Yeah, so we meet online once a week, and in between, there's support as well.
And who would this be for?
This is really for folks who are in indecision, needing to get into their intuition because they're blocked or stuck. They need to move forward. And so we explore what the root causes of the problems are.
And helps them get out of their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific. And what can they expect from this?
Sure. So moving from anxiousness to confidence, accessing their freedom, joy, and security, and really being in alignment with themselves so they have that clear direction, so they know, aha, this is what I need to do next to reach my goals.
So now there's something that's free so people can talk to you and see if this is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. On my website, terryhuberman.com, there is a page where you can click, and it's the intuitive coaching package. And there is a button there that says schedule a free call. So you go ahead, schedule it. We'll get on a call and you can learn more about this program, and we'll see if this is a good fit for you or not.
See if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's an odd date.
terryhuberman.com, TerryHuberman. I highly recommend it, folks. Okay, great. So you teach a lot of workshops. What do you teach?
What do I teach? I teach pretty much everything I know. So I teach, muscle testing, energy testing, psychometry, which is psychic readings, reading objects. I teach remote viewing. I teach psychic mediumship. I teach quantum jumping, parallel lives. I teach energy healing, like a general energy healing, running energy.
Okay, and I've already heard two I really want to talk about. Did you say parallel lives?
Yeah, parallel lives, quantum jumping.
Is that like jumping timelines?
Pretty much, yeah. So in the 3D, third dimension, there is a past, present, and future. So we'll call it, my past life, my present life, my future life. But in the 5D, the fifth dimension, there is no past, present, and future. Time is not linear, and everything is happening simultaneously. So rather than saying past life, we say parallel lives. And so when we quantum jump, we are mentally jumping into another lifetime on a different lifeline, I guess.
Yeah, lifeline timeline.
To meet other versions of ourselves. And people have used quantum jumping to see, okay, why am I suffering from this issue? Let me jump into the other parallel life to meet my other versions and see how they're suffering. And then you can come back and delete the effects of that. You can also meet a parallel self who is living his or her best life, and you can merge with that self and bring it back into the now so that you can embody the qualities of that parallel self. You can also quantum jump and meet a version of yourself who is, I don't know, an expert pianist or speaks fluent French, and you can get advice from these parallel selves, and you can teach yourself a whole new career or a new skill set.
So in this, I'm going to step back one theory. So you're saying where there's all the lives going on at once, which could be a past life. So in a past life, I could find that I was a painter and go and meet myself as a painter?
Yes.
And learn from myself?
Yes.
Is that where I heard a story of a guy that it always starts with a bump on the head? I don't know why, but he was in a car accident. He bumped his head, and all of a sudden he could play classical piano where he never could before.
It is possible. It is possible that the concussion opened up a channel where he was able to meet or merge with a parallel self. Yes.
Okay. And would you say a parallel self, is this sort of where we can do anything, or it really has to be within your wheelhouse of what you've done in your past lives?
Well, I don't actually know how many parallel selves there are. It could be an infinite number. So
that's sort of an esoteric question.
Yeah, but I do know that people have completely changed their careers and learned languages and instruments, and they've healed their illnesses from quantum jumping.
Really? So I would say I have a past life with tarot, because it is, you can tell me about all the other ways. Those are great. I'll try them all, but I love a deck. It is my deck. It is just that simple Rider-Waite deck, but I feel like that I must have had a past life with that, because that's all I read. That's all I want. Everything else is interesting, but so I could probably jump back and find a parallel life where I was probably reading tarot.
Yeah, and you could also jump into the card.
Jump into the what?
You can jump into the card.
Oh, I can go into the card?
Yeah, you can jump into the world of that card.
Wow, that would be fascinating. Wow, I did not know anything about this parallel lives. Do you have any good sort of testimonials for us? Well, you said you had people that have learned to speak languages or changed their jobs, or does it just give them the motivation to be like, yeah, I got this?
Yes. I mean, I haven't used it to change my career, but I did use it to stop dreaming about someone. I was having dreams about someone quite consistently, and so I would just, jump maybe like 7 times in 10 minutes to find out why am I dreaming about this person consistently, and then and then I would come back and I would just clear it, and it resolved the issue. I stopped dreaming about them, because some dreams are you visiting a parallel life.
My dreams, I don't remember that many, but the ones that I do, they're not, the world I'm in always seems a little bit darker. It's not like a pleasant place. Well, that probably needs a clearing, huh?
Probably, yeah.
Very interesting. I just always remember as like, I'm not real comfortable in this place right here whenever I dream. It's very interesting. Okay. So forever I have been looking for someone to talk about remote viewing. How did you learn remote viewing?
Well, there are different versions of remote viewing. There's the CIA way, which is very technical and it follows a very specific protocol. And so I've taken remote viewing classes, but I actually prefer the psychic remote viewing where you just kind of like tune into a photograph in an envelope and just see it and feel it and just know, right about, okay, this is what I'm seeing.
Okay, so and is this? I believe I took a parapsychology class, and the difference would be like, is it remote viewing? Is like you're watching it on TV, like it's going on, and you're getting it like it's on TV, but you're not there.
Well, remote viewing, they usually have something hidden in an envelope.
Okay.
And it's usually a photo of something. It could be of a person or of a place. And so they keep it concealed in an envelope and you're supposed to write down, this is what I see, this is what I feel, this is what I hear, this is what I know, blah, blah, blah. And so you're basically guessing, using your subconscious to guess what the picture is.
Okay. And it's, again, in real time. I think that's the way, but I know the guy I'm talking about is talking about the CIA way where they give you like coordinates and stuff like that. And it's supposed to be sort of as in psychic stuff is in the future and this stuff is sort of going on now.
Yeah, I mean, they've used the CIA remote viewing to locate hostages and landmines and bombs and, nuclear weapons, all kinds of stuff, yeah.
It took me a while to realize that remote viewing was used in helping find lost people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is very, very fascinating to me that really could be used to help find missing people. So how did you start your journey into all this stuff? Were your parents like this or no? Probably not.
My granddad, my mum's dad, was always very, to me, he was the healer in my family. So he would always, put his palm on my body and just remove any kind of pain. And so I kind of like thought it was just natural. I also grew up watching Kung Fu superhero movies. And before I realized that they were pretending, I really believed that people kind of like could fly around and heal people. But I would say that my path got really activated when my son was a year old and he was a baby and he had 7 colds back to back, with 1 or 2 days in between. And I noticed something just didn't feel right with me. And so I contacted a healer and he worked on my son over the phone for like 20 minutes. And my son was well the next day and stayed well. And so I went to his, talk or lecture at the Bodhi Tree bookstore. And he convinced me that I was able to do it. I didn't want to go to his workshop because I didn't believe that I could, and I didn't really want to consciously. And then when I came home, my mum was visiting, and I told her that maybe she should go because everyone always says my mum has a very healing energy about her, and people always feel very calm around my mum. But she gifted me the workshop as a birthday present and convinced me to go so that maybe I just learn it and work on my son. And I was very, very reluctant, but she encouraged me to go. And even when I turned up at the workshop, and this was, I don't know, maybe 11 years ago, I just didn't believe that I could do what he could do. But, you know, within an hour, I was seeing past lives. And then as soon as I left, I started working on people straight away. But I didn't want to call myself a healer. I was just really amazed that I was able to do this thing. And obviously I had a story around not being able to do it. And I had my own limiting beliefs. So I kind of like worked on people just because I was really impressed that I was able to do this thing. It was never because I wanted to be a healer. And it wasn't until I was going through my divorce and I got really mad and frustrated. And I said to the universe, you know, what is it that you want me to do? Just tell me. And then I demanded that, you know, if you want me to become this healer type person, which I really don't believe that I am, then you need to provide me enough clients to fill a full-time practice within 2 weeks. And I was being very unreasonable. And within 2 weeks, I had a full-time practice.
Wow. Somebody hears you clearly.
Yeah.
Well, that you know, that goes along. My best friend, that's an animal communicator, was allergic to animals, and she said, "Okay, listen, if you want me to talk to the animals, you got to clear this up." And now she's not. So that's a very interesting. I love that bargaining. I've never had that. So when you started, it was starting more from a point of fascination rather than I want to, because it is a big word. I do Reiki. I don't do it anymore, but people used to really contact me sometimes with expectations that, well, maybe I should have tried to meet them. Or do you know what I mean? Like, it's a big word. Healer is a big word.
It is a big word, but I also had my own, you know, stories attached to that. I thought in order to be a healer, I have to be so pure. I have to, you know, be a certain type of person. I need to be really holy. I need to be innocent. I need to, you know, levitate on a sheepskin rug. you know, like I didn't believe that I could just be me, you know, because I've experienced my own trauma. And I've had a very colorful life, and I was a wild child and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't believe that I was pure enough to be this kind of like healer type person. But then when I met one of my teachers, I was really, really impressed because he had a mouth like a sailor. And I thought, wow, you know, it is possible to be a healer and just be a regular person, or just be real and be authentic, or have an edge, or have a dark side, or, you know, just be multifaceted, right?
Right. Wouldn't it, you know, I get very nervous around the people that don't have a dark side. I always feel like something's brewing. You know, if you haven't, you know, drop kicked and meter made or something, I'm very worried about you. Not that you should, but, you know, yeah. Wow. So he really showed you it didn't have to be like that.
Yeah, he wasn't a stereotypical new age type person. You know, he's just really regular person, very regular person. He cracked jokes. He had a mouth like a sailor. He cursed all the time. And I thought, okay, this is refreshing.
Yeah. So in other words, what we think is a higher vibration does not necessarily have to look like what it has in movies or in pictures or anything like that. And would you call it a higher vibration, or that's too limiting?
I think it's an image that we get caught up in.
God, you should write a philosophy book. I have about 10 quotes through this whole thing that I was like, wow, listen to that. Remember that. So much. So that's limiting. So to be a healer, is it because you have all this training and stuff, which I always sometimes think the training is really the reassurance that it can happen. Correct?
Well, one of the things that my granddad always said to me is that, you know, when he was growing up, doing energy healing was just a way of life. You know, doing martial arts, you know, it's just like people who do martial arts. It's just a way of life. But he did talk to me that in the Western world nowadays, everyone wants a certificate. Everyone wants proof. And so education was always really important to my granddad. And so I decided if I'm going to go into this, I want to learn as much as I can and provide a certificate for the people who need to see the certificate.
Right.
Right. The other reason why I chose to get certified in all these different modalities is because I believe that with every modality has its strengths and weaknesses. So why not learn as much as you can? And because every modality has its strengths and weaknesses, learn all the strengths from all the different modalities and create some kind of fusion.
I love that. Because I do think I have had conversations with people where they're like, yeah, but this one is better than that, and that one is better. And I kind of think, I don't know. That's kind of why my Jessa and me, my friend Jessa and I are always very hesitant to that word light workers. Because it seems to, I think light workers and it's all good. And, I'm not angry. And all those statements in one person can be very, that feels like it stirs a passive aggressive sort of, person that, you know what I mean? I'm with you. I like someone that can swear and get mad. And I think that's what comedy's about, is being the first person to go, hey, listen to what a jerk I was yesterday and how stupid I did this. You know, it kind of makes everybody okay to be human.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, comedy is a healing modality. It's an alchemy. It's a transformation.
Oh, that's fascinating. Because in tarot, the devil card is also the card of laughter because it dissipates bad energy. Fascinating. You know, I have to tell you this one thing. When you were talking about a guy levitating on a rug, have you ever seen someone do that? Because I know people do it.
Well, I've seen it on YouTube videos, but I don't know if it's real.
I do know a guy that went to a seminar and literally the yogi floated. That was the introduction. The yogi floated over a balcony and landed. My friend Sonia, actually, I should say Sonia's neighbor, Sonia. And it's one of those things that I do believe we have the ability somewhere to do. For my listeners, they all know I talked to Jessa Reed, who talks about alien school and being taught things like levitating and moving things. But this is literally how insane and comedy-wise my brain is. For some reason, I'm watching I always enjoyed Orange is the New Black and Oz, and I'm rewatching Oz, and I always think, okay, so if I ended up in prison, right? Already a bad premise. If I ended up in prison, how am I going to protect myself? And I always think, boy, if you could just levitate for 5 minutes, probably no one would bother you. That's my whole reason for learning to levitate, in case I'm in prison and I need to get everyone away from me. What do you think?
I think that's the plan. Well, I mean, that's the only choice, right?
Right. I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to, I'll be nice to the new people that are coming in. They can be a part of my little peaceful gang, but we've all got to levitate. And then, cause I always heard this one story about, someone that was a prison guard, and she had the most horrific stories ever. But there was one, gentleman that, they said he made it rain in his cell. He made it rain in his cell, and no one ever bothered him again. So that was my thinking when I thought about levitation. No one's going to bother you if you can levitate, because they don't know what's behind the levitation. So
right.
I'm going to try not to commit crimes, but you never know. Garz, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. So now, tell everyone where they can find you. Now, you said your classes or your everything is sold out this year, right?
Yeah, my classes are sold out for this year, but next year I am planning on doing 7-day retreats with my yoga teacher, Roni Goroshi. And you can find that information on alchemistsartshealing.com. And my private sessions are at ChineseEnergyHealing.com. You can also find me on Facebook, and then on Instagram, I'm Chinese Energy Healing.
Yes, and I love your Facebook posts. They're always so positive, and no one is being cursed.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to bring some kind of motivation or encouragement or inspiration into my social media.
You do. And everybody, please follow Garz on everywhere, Instagram, wherever you think you can find inspiration. She has it for you. So, well, thanks for coming on. And thank you, everybody. You can find me at paranormalkaren.com or karenrontowski.com. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media for always doing a great job. I hope to see you all in Ann Arbor in October, and I got more dates. I'm coming to your town. Everybody, we'll see you next week.